If you would like to know more about Nigeria's first military coup, you can get this book, A Carnage Before Dawn. The link is on our bio. In February 1976, General Olusegun Obasanjo escaped death by just a few minutes. As gunfire spread across Lagos and the coup disrupted Nigeria's fragile system, he survived. Within hours, General Obasanjo became head of state following the assassination of General Murtala Muhammed. He moved quickly to restore order, introducing new decrees, special tribunals, and strict laws meant to prevent future coups. About 20 years later, those same decrees would be used against him. We tell the full story in this episode. When the Dimka coup struck Nigeria on February 13, 1976, the country was deeply shaken. Murtala Muhammed, who had been in power for only a short time, was assassinated and uncertainty spread across Lagos. After the coup was suppressed, the new head of state, Olusegun Obasanjo, faced an urgent question. How could such an event be prevented from happening again? The regime responded with strong and far-reaching measures. New laws were introduced, including some that applied to actions already committed. These laws made treason and even the failure to report it a serious offense with heavy punishments, including life imprisonment. At the same time, special military tribunals were set up to try those accused of involvement in coups, and many were sentenced to death. Supporters believed these actions were necessary to maintain order and discourage future plots. Others, however, argued that such measures made it difficult to separate justice from repression. In 1976, Nigeria was reshaping how it would respond to threats against the state, decisions that would have lasting effects for years to come. Most modern legal systems follow a basic rule. A person cannot be punished under a law that did not exist when the act was committed. However, the government of Olusegun Obasanjo took a different approach after the Dimka coup. It introduced decrees that worked backwards, retrospectively, so that actions such as concealment of treason could be treated as crimes even if they were not clearly defined as offenses at the time. In practice, this meant people could be charged under laws that were created after the alleged act. These decrees also gave wide powers to special military tribunals. These were courts made up of serving military officers and operated outside the normal civil justice system. They were allowed to try both civilians and soldiers for coup-related offenses and could pass severe sentences, including death. These powers remained in place for many years, continuing until Nigeria returned to civilian rule in 1999. Although Nigeria presented itself as a country moving away from dictatorship, this system created a clear tension. It gave the military government strong control over legal processes while reducing the protections usually available in civilian courts. As a result, the system could be used not only against those involved in coups, but also against others seen as a threat to the government. Nearly 20 years later, in March 1995, Nigeria was under the strict rule of General Sani Abacha. A coup plot was announced. though many observers doubted its credibility. Arrests followed quickly. Soldiers, politicians, activists, and civilians were detained. Among them was Olusegun Obasanjo, a former head of state who was now widely respected as an elder statesman. What made the situation striking was that Obasanjo was charged under the same laws he had approved years earlier. This included the Decree on Concealment of Treason and the Special Military Tribunal laws. The government accused him of a coup plot against the state. In this way, the legal system created after the 1976 coup was now used against one of the men who had helped to put it in place. Obasanjo's trial was held before a special military tribunal made up largely of officers loyal to the regime. The process was controversial. It was conducted in secret with limited access to legal defense and without the usual openness expected in a court of law. International organizations criticized the trial and questioned its fairness. Obasanjo, along with his former deputy Shehu Musa Yar'Adua and others, were found guilty and given a long prison sentence. Some of those initially sentenced to death later had their punishments reduced. The case raised serious concerns about the state of justice in Nigeria at the time. Reports suggested that the evidence against the accused was weak or unreliable. Some observers believed the alleged coup plot had been exaggerated to justify arrests and silence opposition figures seen as threats to the government. For Obasanjo, it was a difficult experience. Many years after surviving a coup as a soldier, he now found himself imprisoned under the same system he had once helped to create. The retrospective decrees and special military tribunal laws were more than minor details in Nigeria's history. They reflected a period where military authority was stronger than civilian law and legal power was used not only to punish crimes against the state, but also to silence opposition and maintain control. The experience of Olusegun Obasanjo stands out clearly. He survived a coup, helped introduce strict anti-treason laws, and years later was tried under those same laws. It remains one of the most striking turns in Nigeria's political history. His survival during the rule of Sani Abacha showed how deeply the systems of military rule had taken hold. These decrees were later removed, and with the return to democracy in May 1999, Nigeria began to move away from the legal structures of military rule. In 1976, after the failed Dimka coup and the killing of General Murtala Muhammed, General Olusegun Obasanjo rose to power and introduced strict laws to protect the state. This included decrees that allowed people to be punished for treason, even in ways that reached back into the past, and special tribunals that operated outside normal courts. At the time, they were meant to bring order and prevent future coups. However, nearly 20 years later, under General Sani Abacha's paranoid rule, those same laws were used against Obasanjo himself. He was accused of concealing a coup plot, tried in a closed military tribunal, and sent to prison. The system he had once helped to build had turned against him. This moment raises a deeper idea often described as karma, the belief that a person's actions, whether good or bad, eventually return to them. In Obasanjo's case, the laws he signed in the name of security became the very tools used to judge him. Obasanjo's travels leave difficult questions. Can a leader ever fully control the systems he creates? When power is used to secure order, who ensures it is not later used unjustly? And when history turns in this way, is it coincidence or consequence?